What's up? What's up?
We should have just both disappeared while Gabe went to get his water.
And then we're like, see ya. Well, it's another holiday. And look who's here. The champions of tea time, man. Champions of tea time.
The ones who really care.
Not letting us down, Gabe.
Or have to be here.
Definitely not letting us down. I have to figure out a way, and I think I've complained about this before. I have to figure out a way in Edelweiss. And it was interesting, somebody on the indie Facebook page, Amanda, said that there was a way in Edelweiss to like kind of filter out and try to get what the new releases are for each week. And I still can't figure it out. So I'm gonna have to play with that. Because it's really frustrating, because I used to be able to just walk in the back room and see what was coming out on the shelf, because that would give me a clue what's happening. But I kind of feel blind sometimes. So I don't really know what's coming out tomorrow. But I think some good stuff, right, Gabe?
You know what? That's what I'm here to tell you about.
I figured as much. So let's start it. You go. It's the Gabe show today. Well, Gabe, man, I got a couple things I'll talk about as we go. But
I'm sure there's somebody. I'm sure I'll have interruptions.
I know somebody's gonna like sneak in on us. Maybe not though. I don't know if they're not here by now.
Tom Ben is, he's Mr. Right on time.
Yeah.
So I will try to maybe come up with one more book.
Yeah, you can come up with 4. Yeah, we're good with that.
Oh, hold on. I don't want to show my screen yet. I don't want to jump ahead and blow my surprise. Sorry. It's just gonna be quick.
No, that's okay. I'll fill some time some more. Well, so okay, while we're filling some time. And this is you're gonna have to just listen to me then before you get to start. So let's talk about Spare, because I think that there's a lot of people out there buying it, but also some people that are just sort of like, do I need to buy it? Should I buy it? What's the whole deal? So full disclosure, I have not read it. I think my plan is at some point to listen to it on audio, because Harry reads it. So there's a couple things, in my opinion, that are going for it. Number one, J.R. Moehringer was his ghostwriter, and J.R. did.
I just found that out today.
Okay, yeah, J.R. did Andre Agassi's book. J.R. did. Oh God, I can't think of. And he's the one that actually wrote. His story was Tender Bar, and then he wrote a book called Sutton. So I love J.R. Moehringer. I think he's a great writer. So I think that it's going to be well written. The story will be told well, I think, is what my point is. I think whatever story he's telling, I think, is going to be told well. So that has some pluses to it. What I'm hearing is that it's a little too heavy on the wartime that he spent in war. So there was a little bit, there's been some like, hey, wish I had more time with her. So I guess he spends a significant amount of time kind of building. It's really about his whole life. So about the time with his brother and losing his mom and going through the war. And there's the very end is what's about Meghan and what's happened in the last few years. So it's not this whole thing that's like a People magazine article about the last couple of years. So whether it's disparaging to the royal family, I don't know. I haven't read it. I don't know any of that stuff, but I think it has some merits that if you are interested, then it might be worth the read or the listen. So, like I said, I'm not giving it a full stamp of approval yet, because I haven't dipped into it, but those are some positive things I think that are about it. So with that said, that's about Spare. I mean,
I've been hearing good, I've been seeing a lot of people who I wouldn't thought would not be at all interested, having some thoughtful conversations about it. So I don't think it doesn't seem to be all jazzy and finger pointing, but I haven't read it either. But I have heard from interesting people having conversations among themselves in the publishing world who don't read this kind of thing normally, but who have given it a look. And so,
yeah. And my thing is that we're here at Tea Time to like give recommendations. And so even though maybe some of the reps aren't here talking about specific books, this is without a doubt, the biggest book that's published in the last week, and the biggest nonfiction title of, I think, Random House's history or whatever. So I mean, it bears some discussion about.
They did publish Shelley and Barry, so they sold a lot of those books.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There was a really interesting article in the New York Times. I think it was in their style section. It wasn't in the book review, and it was analyzing the cover of Spare.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's just his picture. So what are they analyzing?
Well, they talked about, oh, he's not clean shaven. He's like just kind of grizzled, and he's wearing like just a simple thong, like a leather thong necklace. And there's a story about his necklace got torn off. Like I don't know all the royal gossip, but they were like linking it to that, and just kind of how, and he's not smiling, he's not frowning. They just went super into it.
God, that's a deep dive.
Yeah, compared it to other similar cover design. And
I mean, here's the deal with it. It's very spare. I mean, the cover is very spare. Mm-hmm. Okay, I saw the funniest thing though. It was a meme, and it was hilarious. And it said, if you are an older sibling and haven't changed your sibling's contact to spare, what are you waiting for?
Ouch.
Body parts.
I better.
He's just body parts. Well, I'm going to talk about a book who author hasn't been able to grace the cover of every magazine and
all right, you go.
In the country. Michael Werjet, who's written for Outside Magazine and all the other major outdoor journals out there. This is a novel about a climb in Denali that it's not Everest. It is in America. And it is one of the few books that really deals with the peripheral people who are affected by climbing tragedies. This is a climbing tragedy that there was a rescue mission and a lot of rescuers were endangered. Really well written. The writing is really great. I was trying to pull up quotes, and there were so many great quotes for this book to put up here that it was kind of impossible to choose. But the writing is, I wanted to emphasize the writing is really good. And this genre, outdoor writing, mountaineering, I don't know what it is about, is it being in the mountains or being reflective? There's some good writing in some of these mountaineering books and climbing books. I think this is another really strong example of some really solid writing, and gets into, as I said, it tension, it's taut, you want to keep turning the pages, and you're along for the adventure, but also it's eye-opening. You know, it's like the books on Everest that we started talking about, you know, people walking over dying people, because you got to summit before, and you got to get down before it gets too dark. You don't have time to carry anybody. You only got so much oxygen. Later, brother, I'll see you in 20 years when they dig you out. This is really well told. And I read a lot of this stuff. I really like mountaineering books, and especially climbing books. And this is one of the better ones I've read in a long time.
It sounds really, because you're right, Gabe. There is something about that topic that is, it's got a universality to it, even if you're not a climber.
Right.
It's really intriguing as far as the survivalist part of it. And like you said,
there's always that tension, I think.
Right. And like you said, that part of your brain that, like, how do you as a human walk over? I mean, it's just in how you compartmentalize that stuff.
Because you paid $70,000 to summit Everest, man. That's why.
Or are you just trying to survive?
Right.
You know, that's the thing too.
You do.
You know, it's like, yeah, you paid the money to go, but it's like you're in a survival mode too. You're in this part of your brain that is just sort of like, I got to keep going.
Maybe it's getting dark or whatever.
Right. Okay. You're right, Gabe. You are getting interrupted. Here comes Kim DeVoe.
Yay!
Kim's always good for some good picks. She might not be ready to go right away, Amanda. So why don't you go and talk about, if you have something to talk about. And by the way, hello, everybody who was saying hi on Facebook. It's good to see all of you. And Beth Doherty saying, yes, it is an effective cover of Spare. So I agree with you on that.
I had no idea you had to pay that much to go scale Everest.
Oh, I bet that's...
was checking on it recently. It used to be like 35 grand. And I was thinking about it the other day, because there was yet another picture. It was an old picture, but it's that one that they show where everybody's sort of lined up. And there's, 50, 45 people, maybe more, lined up, just waiting their turn, trudging up like chest to chest.
Bet 70's on the cheap side now. I bet it's even more than that by the time you add everything up, because you've got it.
1-to-1 Sherpa. 1-to-1 Sherpa, so you got somebody to carry your stuff for you.
Well, and also you can't just like decide, like Julie Slavinsky that's sitting in Carlsbad can't decide, oh, next month I'm going to go climb Everest. I mean, you've got to like train and do. So when you probably add it all up, it's probably,
Right.
you know, a lot of money. Hello, Kim DeVoe.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. All right, Amanda's going to go and then you go, okay?
Okay.
All right. What you got, Amanda?
This is a beautiful gift book that has been nominated for the Golden Poppy, one of the Golden Poppy Awards, which is for excellence in Californian books. And it's definitely one with interest for Warwick's folks who are into surfing. This is Point Break. It's huge, by Raymond Pedvon. And really incredible surf art, kind of strange in a good way. And let me see here, I had some notes. He is known for his enigmatic aesthetic and satirical critiques of American culture. Throughout the art, there are references to literature, all sorts of classic texts, like there are quotes from Proust and William Blake, Walt Whitman, and the essays that accompany this book are incredibly interesting and erudite. And it's like I am not a surfer. I once won a free surf lesson from Chris Cantori, local
Right.
disc jockey, and I got to the beach and got all the way down to the beach, and it was time to suit up, and I was like, nope, never mind. I don't want to go into the ocean because it terrifies me. So I'm not at all traditionally interested in this topic, but this is a fascinating, beautiful gift book, and even me not being into that stuff kept turning the pages and just staring at this art. So yes, we have this at Warwick's. If you have a surfer in your life who also loves to think about kind of the philosophy of surfing, this is Point Break.
So it's art and not photos.
It's all paintings.
Okay, and are they his paintings?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. And do you know what part of California he's from?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. I don't, not off the top of my head. But,
all right, we'll figure that out later. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kim DeVoe, what do you got for us today?
Okay, I'm so excited about this book. Where'd it go? Okay, I already gave it to somebody else, so I have to show you a
Oh yes, everybody's been talking about that.
Okay.
I just started reading that.
I am beyond, I'll just start. My first book is My Father's House by acclaimed Irish novelist Joseph O'Connor. It is set during World War II and takes place in Rome when it was under Nazi occupation. And all of the main characters are based on real life people. The central character is Hugh O'Flaherty, a Catholic priest from Ireland stationed in the Vatican. He was known as the Irish Schindler for saving the lives of 6,500 people, prisoners of war, Jewish civilians, and members of the resistance. Incredibly, he orchestrated this Rome escape line from deep inside the Vatican with the help of several others who formed his resistance group. A popular singer whose husband was the Vatican's senior Irish diplomat, the British ambassador to the Holy See and his assistant, a British army officer, a journalist, an Italian contessa, and a street vendor. And this suspenseful, thrilling story is narrated by all of these characters, and it revolves around one of their most daring and dangerous missions, dubbed the Christmas Eve mission, as the Nazi commander in Rome, Paul Hauptmann, tries desperately to hunt them down. I I knew nothing about any of this, but there are nonfiction books about Father O'Flaherty and this Rome escape line. And there's actually a 1983 movie, The Scarlet and the Black, starring Gregory Peck and Christopher Plummer, that I am totally going to watch. And I absolutely love this book. I never can name a favorite book of the year. It's not my thing, but I might make an exception this year. I think it's going to be this one. I just,
wow,
phenomenal.
Wow. That's something.
Shadow Play by the same author was absolutely my favorite book in 2020. He's
okay.
Excellent writer. Yeah, highly recommend Shadow Play. It's in paperback now.
When is this one coming out? Is this one out already?
No, I think it comes out next week. And I thought about holding it, but
sometimes you just can't hold it in.
I just decided,
Okay, but here's what I'm reading. And Amanda just put it into the comment section of Facebook that it's a trilogy, and this is number 1 in the trilogy.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah. And so can I tell you how happy I am about that?
Okay, because I usually hate trilogies because my brain will forget Julie, by the time the next one comes along.
Just read this and thank me later.
All right.
I love this.
It's been on my stack. It's been on my short list. It hasn't quite made it to the top, but it's been on my short list.
Yeah, get it up there.
All right.
I gave it to I gave my copy to somebody, I can't remember who, because I had to share it, but I'm totally buying it when it comes out. I'll probably reread it, seriously.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's a testament.
Yeah, I never reread anything. So
no one's got the time.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
I'm with you, Amanda. Shadow Play was one of my favorites a couple of years ago when it came out. And his previous book, Star of the Sea, was also, he's written like 10 books. He's got a lot of work to go back to, and they're all really good. This book I just started, and now I'm curious, is he going to talk about the Nazi pipeline that goes through the Vatican as well? But I just started this because I'm excited to read the trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a thought, but it went out of my head. But whatever.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's like I said, if I can't even remember what I'm going to say a minute from now, what am I going to do to read a trilogy when it's like 2 years before the next one comes out? I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyways, it'll be like a whole new reading experience. Okay, so Kim is on here thanking, and I think these were Tom and Amanda B's books, but I'm not sure about The Pirate's Wife. Killers of a Certain Age, which is Tom's book. Love that. The Pirate's Wife, was that yours, Gabe?
That's mine.
Okay,
I love The Pirate's Wife.
She's thanking you for that. And then didn't nobody give a shit about Carlotta. I personally loved that book. That was my, I know Amanda talked about it, but I loved that book. And I think James Callahan is an amazing writer. And he's actually going to Callahan. I don't know. I'm mispronouncing his name. And he's going to be, if you're in San Diego, he's actually going to be doing a talk in the end of February at USD, and it's a free event. So I highly recommend, if you have the time, look at our website. I think we have it, and coming up. I'm not sure if we have it on our website, but it's on our e-blast, I think.
Yeah.
Or look at USD's. Be well worth going and seeing him. I think he was shortlisted for some prizes, delicious foods. I mean, he's amazing. If I was in a Winter Institute, that's where I would be. Beth Doherty just read After Parties.
Great collection.
Yep.
Brilliant collection.
Cat brushing. I loved cat brushing.
Oh God, so did I.
Wasn't that good?
Yes.
I know. And The Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. Hanahan. That's it. It's Hanahan. That's it. Who wrote and okay. This is what I was going to say. I know a lot of you get LitHub and read through LitHub, which I love. There was an interesting one just the other day that talked about like bestsellers, top sellers, and then this whole other category, which is like backlist bestsellers. And it's amazing. We all talk about new releases because it's the new hot thing to talk about. But it's really fascinating how backlist and some of the older titles still just have an amazing, and how important that backlist is.
That's where we make our money. We don't make our money on the front list. We got to convert it to backlist, then we make money.
Exactly.
Promote, pay advances. But if you've got a book that you're selling 20, 30 years, like The Alchemist.
Right.
We had The Alchemist 25th anniversary 10 years ago.
Exactly. And they were talking about it, Cutting for Stone, which is one of them that we were talking about earlier. I think Cutting for Stone, which is still a book that it's probably one of my top 10. And Abraham Verghese, it's been years since he's written a second book. His next one coming out this year. But it was fascinating to see the stats of the backlist, which a lot of us don't talk about as much. But there's still such great titles on that. And like you said, that's where the money in publishing is. Anywho, Amanda just popped in the thing in the link to James Hanahan's a talk at USD. Oh, so okay, Gabe, I'm taking all your time. You go.
I mean, luckily I'm brief and to the point.
Wait. Yeah, that's right. It was 2023's New Year's resolution.
It's the 10th. I already broke my resolution. I don't even get to the Three Kings there, whatever it is. I should know that. Having been an altar boy, I should know what that date is.
Right?
Anyways, I'm talking about Vintage Contemporaries, which is a novel by Dan Kois, who is the editor at Slate, who's written a number of books, apparently. This is the first one with us. And I really like this book. I always talk about, I like these books that are moments in time. And this took me right back to Emma Who Saved My Life by Wilton Barnhart, who is one of my absolute favorite authors. That book and The Gospel are two very different books and both brilliant and page-turning in their own way. And this really took me back to Emma. And it is a moment in time, early 90s. M moves to New York, living in the Big Apple as a publishing assistant of some sort. And she meets Emily, who is an artist, and she meets Lucy, who is an author. And they have this moment in time, this real intense friendship. And then, life you move on, right? You go from these really tight moments. And it's like Friends. I think that's what was so great about Friends and the way they ended Friends. It's these great characters have this moment. It's great. And then who knows what their lives are going to bring, but it's never the same. And it takes you back to you're so tight with your college and your homies in school. And then for years, you're always hooked up. You're skiing together. You're doing these things. And then you lose track of one and somebody hits the orbit, and then slowly. But in this case, M has a life of her own. She gets married. She becomes a publisher in New York, and 20-some years down the road, Emily comes knocking because Lucy's book has written her book, but Lucy has passed away, and this book. So in essence, these three friends are reunited via the book. And then the growth that comes from that relationship again. So it's looking back at, and then they look back at their earlier years and who are you really? Are you just a fraud when you're young, or is that really you in the making? I thought it was well done. There was a comment of somebody called it a really terrific, if imperfect, novel. I just think it's one of those books that the characters bring you in, and the plot is really strong enough to make you feel what these people are feeling. And when you're young, you feel so much, I don't know if it's hormonal or if you really are just way more into things, or because things are new, but you tend to feel a lot. Now it's like, you're doing some of the same things, and it's not like so heavy. Anyways, I really, really like this book. I read it in like a handful of sittings. I picked it up and just ate up a chunk of it, and the next night I ate up another big chunk of it, and that's the way I devoured it. So a lot of fun.
But I think that there is something about that when you're young and you're up until 2 a.m. talking about world, I think that there's just something about that in youth. But I think that who you experience that with, like you said, even though you go off in different orbits, there's something about when and if there's a reconnect, there's always a solid connection because of that.
Right.
There's always like as stupid as we all think high school reunions are, there's something about them. There's a reason why we do them. And there's something that is about that connection.
There's some connections you have,
It's so funny you mentioned that. I had a dream about being at my high school reunion, and I've never been to any of mine. And I had this dream last night. It was so strange.
Yeah. I mean, my dad's passed, but my dad kind of forced me to go because he said it's not like, because I said, I don't have anything in common with these people anymore. And he goes, it's not about now and the future. It's about re-examining your past. And it's kind of true. It's like, these are people that knew you in a certain part of your life, you know? And like you said, was that really you? No, because you grow and you expand and, you know, hopefully you do. Hopefully you grow and expand. But there is a connection that is a special connection that you don't have with people that you meet in your 30s, you know, right. Or that you meet, you know, there's not that same sort of connection that you have. Anyways, I digress. Sounds like a really good book. That's gotta add that to my stack too. Okay, Amanda, what do you got?
Back to me already. So everybody's talking about this new Netflix movie called The Pale Blue Eye.
Oh,
which is I didn't even realize it's based on a book by Louise Bayard. Bayard. Who I've never read, but
didn't he write Mr. Lincoln? I gotta look. Keep talking.
So, yeah. He wrote like 3 or 4 books with us.
Go ahead, keep talking. I'll look.
Yeah. But everyone's talking about this movie. And one of the characters in the movie is Edgar Allan Poe, and Edgar Allan Poe is my man. I love him. And so I'm saving watching this movie until his birthday, which is this Thursday, the 19th. I thought that was appropriate. But I am jumping the publishing date to talk about this book, A Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe by Mark Dawidziak. This comes out on Valentine's Day. And this is a very excellent overview of Edgar Allan Poe's life. There are a lot of biographies about him. This one is interesting in that it's structured in alternating chapters, some of which are in the few, I think, weeks before his death, which are hotly debated because there's not a lot of documentation. And also with it, and then the other chapters are his early life. And the most important thing that this book does is that it dispels this popular myth of Poe as this drugged out, drunk, tortured dude in an attic with a candle and a raven on his shoulder, torturedly writing poetry. Like, that is not Poe. He was
a heart on the floor.
Yeah, he was a brilliant a critic, a newspaper, like a journalist. He did pioneer the mystery genre, as well as writing incredible poetry, of course, and short stories. And he wrote a novel, and he did everything. And he also didn't have his trademark mustache his whole life. He had long, fashionable sideburns and was clean shaven most of his life. So the book is really great at humanizing Poe and turning around this really popular and money-making caricature that we have in our minds of Edgar Allan Poe. And it's a really excellent book for anyone who is interested in deepening their knowledge of the man that is Poe. So if you watched Pale Blue Eye and you want to know more about Poe, I highly recommend A Mystery of Mysteries, out on Valentine's Day.
All right. So I'll talk about is it Louis Bayard? He did write Courting Mr. Lincoln, which I thought was fascinating. I thought it was so good because it's all about Lincoln and his friend, and Mary Lincoln and what she knew. Really interesting. He's got a new book coming out in June called Jackie and Me. So if you haven't read Louis before Pale Blue Eyes, Courting Mr. Lincoln, solid writer, solid writer, good historical, good historical that's like covers just different stuff. He doesn't like stick in a lane,
right?
You know, he's like covering a lot of different stuff, which is really interesting. So I would highly recommend him. Okay, Kim DeVoe.
Okay, I'm totally cheating here. My next book is I know you read this, Julie, Trespasses by Louise Kennedy. I know you guys have talked about this before.
Doesn't matter.
And it's, of course, a debut. And Louise Kennedy is an Irish writer who's been published in various other forms. and who prior to becoming a writer was actually worked as a chef for 30 years. Now I have just barely started this book, and I've been wanting to read it for so long, but just got really busy. But two of my fabulous coworkers, Mary A. and Mary W., absolutely love this book. And they both have very literary backgrounds, and they read only the best literary fiction. So they are, anything they recommend is excellent. And they are like way more sophisticated than I am with my reading, which tends to be, omnivorous all over the place. And of course, Trespasses also was a best book of 2022 for a million different publications. And I can only tell you the bare bones of the story. It's set in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, it's in 1975, so early on. And it revolves around a young Catholic woman, a teacher, who has an affair with a much older married Protestant barrister who actually defends IRA members. And it's many, many things, including a love story, but there's a lot of other things going on, this massive societal rift, the violence, the cruelty, just a really difficult time period. And there's tragedy, there's heartbreak, and a giant warning to us today, but as well as love, kindness, humanity, and even humor. And her writing's gorgeous. And it's not a big book. And I sometimes it's just, she's incredible with what she can say with fewer words than a lot of other people. So highly recommend. I know Julie was a fan, and that's it.
Anyone who reads the San Diego Union Tribune might have noticed they run book recommendations from local librarians and booksellers, just book people, every Sunday, and 2 weekends in a row, different people recommended Trespasses, which is pretty unusual.
Can I just step in for a second and say I've been recommending
this book? You were first.
Recommending this book forever.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. It's fabulous.
And I think I even let Seth know about it, and he was one of the recs. And so it's just like, oh my God, it cracks me up. But this is absolutely, you're right, Kim. It's just a tremendous book, and her writing is so tight. And at the heart of it, it's a very personal story.
Yes.
Surrounded by, but she doesn't beat you over the head with what's happening, but it's what's happening around her affects what happens in her personal life. And so it is just done in such a brilliant way. I can't recommend it enough.
Right. Which is so true to life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love, there's a couple comments that are good here. Diane said that Pale Blue Eyes was actually filmed around where she lives. So that's kind of cool. And then refer to read the book first. I thoroughly enjoyed Bayard's Jackie. Oh, I thought Jackie and Me wasn't out yet. Oh well, never mind. It must be out. Maybe the paperback of Jackie and Me is coming out in June.
Oh.
So the hardcover must be out already. And then yes, Beth, it's funny. They jumped on you, Kim, for saying that you were cheating on Tea Time. Like there's rules. If there's anything about Tea Time, there are no rules.
There are no rules.
Okay. I'm breaking my own rule.
There are no rules. All right, Gabe, what do you got?
All right, I'm gonna finish up lightning round like I do.
Like you do.
Amanda recommended this book a couple of weeks ago, but I have to talk about it because it goes on sale tomorrow in case anybody forgets. I don't know if we have an older audience or not, but sometimes folks need reminding.
You're talking about me. You're talking about me.
Talking about myself. I went downstairs and walked around. It was like, I'll remember when I go back upstairs for my water. Then I was like, I'm a water. So Pandora is a really interesting novel. It is set in Georgian England. Pandora is the daughter of an antiquarian, and her father is this father's a little bit of a caricature, Scrooge-ish kind of a scrounger, very private, sneaky dude. So Dora is an aspiring jewelry artist, and her father's an antiquarian, and he somehow gets his hands on this vase that was off of a sunken ship. Apparently, gets his hands on this vase that is too old to be dated at that point in time, and is quite possibly a Pandora's box or a Pandora's vase of things to come. But it is really more of a novel of Dora's observations. She's a narrator. She's running the ship. She tells you what she wants to tell you. She gets involved with Edward Lawrence, who's what is he? He's like an archaeologist or something who promises,
he's like an amateur archaeologist. Right. He wants to be in the Royal Society, whatever it is, in London, but he's also like a bookbinder, which is kind super sexy and a romance interest, I have to say.
A shirtless bookbinder. Anyways, this so it's really it's like really well observed. If it was like real, it's a really well observed novel. Her writing is really terrific. So it was a New York Times Sunday Times bestseller in the UK. We're publishing it as a paperback original. We've got a really good price on it at $17 with a killer package. The package alone will have you picking
it looks so good.
I think really well written, really well observed, and she's got a gift for the language. So if you like the Essex Serpent, if you like does it lean into the supernatural, does it not? There's a lot of things that you can discuss about this book. Really open for discussion. Good book club book, even though it seems kind of genre-ish. I think it's a good book club book because there's stuff to talk about in a fun way.
I love it. Okay, so Nancy Warwick texted Kim and I this weekend because we get the Libro advanced listening copies, and so this was one of them. And Nancy started. So Nancy Warwick obviously is the owner of Warwick's.
Yeah.
And she was all about this book this weekend. So she was like, "Have you guys listened to this?" And so it's really grabbed me. I mean, she's all over it. So I thought that somebody had talked about it at tea time, but when I looked back, because I thought it was a Hachette book. But then when I looked at it was a Harper book, I'm like, I don't remember Gabe talking about it, but it was you, Amanda, that had talked about it. Yeah, I couldn't figure out, but I was like,
Pandora has a pet magpie.
Oh, there you go.
They put a bird on it. Yeah, so, I loved it.
So she's really enjoying the Libro copy. So if you're into audiobooks, that might be a good one for you to get on Libro.fm too. So
cool.
There you go. Okay, Kim on here is giving me some props about talking about Foster, and she thinks that that's right up there with Trespasses. I said Foster's so good. I mean, Foster was just
okay, like 3 Irish writers today, and O'Connor.
Yeah, Foster was so good. Okay. Anyways, if you haven't read Foster yet, just go buy it, read it. You'll read it in like 2 hours, and you will thank all of us for it.
Yeah,
her writing is just incredible.
Yeah, that truly, I agree.
Okay. All right, Amanda, what's your last pick?
I am a big fan of books about writing and books about books, but writing guides, I'm always a sucker for one. So this comes out tomorrow from Susan Griffin. This is Out of Silence, Sound, Out of Nothing, Something. And it's not a traditional writing guide necessarily. It is organized in a timeline fashion, but it has little very short entries, in some cases just a single line, and is beautifully written. I can't really say too much about it. It's a very beautiful book if you're into thinking about writing and want something gentle, but very provocative and inspiring to kickstart your new year of writing. I would recommend this book.
Is that the Susan Griffin from back in the day, or is this a younger Susan Griffin?
From back in the day? Uh-oh, I should know. This is her.
Back in the day, it looks like to me.
Yeah. She wrote Pornography and Silence, The Arrows of Everyday Life.
Oh, yeah?
Very feminist, a lot of real hardcore feminist tones. The Something of Ray. She was very provocative.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's really good. There are a lot of kind of, I don't know, kind of weak writing guides, but I really enjoy this one. And it's the kind too, you can do it as the timeline, but you can also just kind of pick it up and dip in.
What's good is that it's the beginning of the year. You have that aspiration to write. Okay, Kim.
Okay.
Take us to the end.
Okay. My next book is Women Holding Things by, I don't know how to say her name, Maira Kalman.
Maira Kalman.
She's great.
Very, very well-known artist, self-trained. And she, okay, so there's a story behind this. I'm flexing here. So on Thursday, a woman came in and she asked us for a totally unique, totally fun, but not, not silly. Just she wanted the most fabulous, unique book that you would never find online or, at a big bookseller, something curated, by the booksellers. And this was one of Laura's picks for Christmas, and her name is in it, and it's on the gift table. And I immediately ran over and got this book for her. And she needed this book for a very special friend. And she started looking through it and she said, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted. And I didn't know I wanted this. She said, the book can be anything. She said, fiction, nonfiction, I don't care. I just want something extraordinary. And a younger woman was by the magazine rack. And even though the woman was on the other side of the store, she could hear the whole conversation. And she said to me, can I see that book? So I ran and got her one. And the original woman bought 2 copies, one for herself and one for her friend. The woman by the magazine bought a copy, and then yet another woman overheard this conversation and she bought a copy.
Damn.
The power of book selling.
In like 10 minutes, we sold 4 of these books.
Wow.
And then this is super, yeah. And then super embarrassing. I actually bought one for a friend. Because I thought of someone else I could buy this for, who I was going to be seeing the next day. And anyway, it's super cool. She's an artist, and this is a collection of art and reflections about the concept of holding things, specifically women holding things. And she reflects on we hold things physically, emotionally, artistically, existentially, etc., and how we also hold our tasks, our family, our history, and more. And there's just all kinds of stuff in there. And there's sparse, often poetic text juxtaposed with these just really, really lovely watercolors. I'm not really going to be able to show you anything great here, but every page is literally a treasure, and evocative of all kinds of emotions as you kind of flip through the book. And it's lovely. It's like perfect. And I have a copy. I gave, it's a great gift, and a great gift to yourself, and it's just fun. You don't get tired of looking at it.
And okay, it's on Beth Doherty's wish list. Beth, I think it's time it comes off your wish list.
Pull the trigger, Beth.
Pull that trigger.
Yeah. You won't regret it.
Yeah. The one thing about Laura, Kim, which I love her at the store.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she updates her rec page very often on her staff recs, Amanda. Yeah. But she should, because Laura always has these gems.
She does.
And she doesn't recommend a lot, but what she does are always truly gems. And they're all like you talk about, like you were talking about Mary A and Mary W. They're very much in this literary lane and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Laura is a little bit all over the map.
Yeah, she totally is.
Nails it every time.
I completely agree with you. And Laura herself is a gem.
Oh, she is.
She is the most wonderful person.
Yeah. But she has such distinct and unique reading taste, but that is always spot on. When she likes something, it's worth listening to.
Yeah. And I love how sometimes it's kind of quirky, kind of.
Oh, yeah. Amanda, do me a favor. Is she got a rec page? Does she have a rec page?
She's kind of punk rock. I'll put it here.
Well, but also kind of poke her a little bit and get some of her new recs, like this one. And I know that she liked Marion Toe's fighting. It was fighting. It was that one.
Yeah. And Laura's actually a trained artist.
Yeah. So
really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Poke Laura a little bit and get some new recs from her and get her page updated, because she's well worth somebody to pay attention to.
Yeah.
All right, even though there was only 4 of us today, we ended up taking a lot of time, but I think we really covered some really good books.
I want to mention really quick too. Sorry, Myra Coleman illustrated my I love. Speaking of books about writing, The Elements of Style by Strunk White. I love that book. Is amazing, and she did the same sort of thing. She illustrated Elements of Style.
I'm aware of that, and I've seen that. Good. It is so incredibly good.
Yeah.
And I almost forgot. I have to flex something else here. Okay, I'm still working my way through the cookbook I did last week, and yesterday I made the apple Calvados cake, which is a regional Normandy specialty.
Ooh.
And it has it rocks.
Hold that up again. That looks amazing.
It has the apples, walnuts, the Calvados. It's like giant. That's all that's left, guys. Okay, that's it's testament.
That's amazing. That for Gabe this week.
I've been trying not to eat it while we're sitting here, actually.
Well, Kim, you made the pistachio one that I had at work last week. It was so good.
That wasn't my favorite by a long shot. Yeah.
Oh, well, it was good. So,
but it was okay. But most of them are oh my God, they just hit it out of the park. So don't forget.
All right. Good recs. Lots of good stuff for everybody to read this week and into the weekend. So everybody happy reading. Got some events, so you can look at our website, see what events we have coming up. We got some, there's one coming up on Thursday that you might want to watch virtually. It's Small World. Can't think of the name of the author right off the hand, and shame on me for not knowing that.
Laura Zigman.
Oh yeah. And she is with Mona Awad, who I adore, is doing the conversation. But that book is getting some slow attention in the background. It's bubbling up on different things that I'm seeing. So it might be one that might be worth tuning in for. So can't wait to have that on Thursday. So anywho, happy reading, everybody, and we will see y'all next week. Bye.
Okay, bye.